Hello and welcome to another video from Lanzarote Information, which will hopefully bring you useful and interesting information. And this week we're talking about what we call the villa scam, but it equally applies, of course, to apartments as well. And it's the situation where somebody books a villa or an apartment, pays often a hefty deposit for it, and then is unable to complete the booking because the person who made the offer in the first place was never in a position to rent that particular property out. And there are kind of two levels of this. There's a very simple level, which is where it's a chancer basically who perhaps stalks Facebook pages and says, hey, I've got a property for rent here, and then reels you in and asks you for a deposit and then just completely disappears off the face of the earth. That's a fairly low level one, but there is a more sophisticated version of this where scammers who could be located anywhere in the world, often in Eastern Europe, create a sophisticated website that looks very legit and takes bookings over a period of time and then just disappears off the face of the earth. Either way, we're going to talk about things to look for that will possibly indicate that there's a scam or there's something not quite right about the particular offer you're looking at. And most importantly, at the end of this video, we'll give you things you can do to mitigate this, things you can do to just check out if they really are legit. I'm going to put a rider in here, and that is that the vast majority of people, thousands, literally thousands here in Lanzarote and millions around the world, book villas and apartments all the time and they don't have any issues. But we have come across a few readers over the last few years who have been scammed out of some considerable sums of money and then of course had to pay again to get legitimate accommodation. So this is just aimed at arming you with the information, things to look for, and what to do if you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable. So let's talk about the things to look for where you're looking perhaps at a website and you're wondering if the website that is offering properties for rental, wherever you're going in the world, but obviously we're focused on Lanzarote, things to look for that might give you some cause for concern. And the first is a fairly obvious one, and that is the properties seem to have loads and loads of availability. That really is never the case in Lanzarote. Property accommodation here is booked weeks, months, sometimes years in advance. So if you're seeing that almost everything is available for the dates you're looking at, that should be an alarm bell for you. The second thing to worry about is if the names look odd. Now, I came across a scam website the other day, which was offering, I think it was about 60 different villas for rental in Lanzarote, but all the names were Greek. So there was Villa Acropolis, there was Villa Athens. Now that just doesn't make sense, and actually, you know, when I checked out these properties, they were named something completely different, more typical Lanzarote names like, I don't know, Casablanca and Villa Paraiso and all that kind of stuff. So look out for odd sounding property names. That is potentially an alarm bell, but you know, nevertheless, there are properties that are called what would seem to be odd names for here, but it's something to look at, particularly if it's consistent across the website, and it was on the one I was looking at before. What else should you look for? Well, the one I've looked at, and I've seen this before, they use very odd terminology, like we have on-site concierges who you can contact, who will arrange food for you, who will do bookings at accommodation, bookings at events for you and things like that. Now that's just kind of strange. I mean, when you're renting a privately owned villa or apartment, you don't generally have a concierge. You might have a villa manager who might be able to help you do some of those things, but the concierge word is one to look out for that might cause you a bit of an alarm bell. And the final thing I'm always wary of is weird terms and conditions. And again, if you delve into the terms and conditions of the booking, you might see odd stuff. I mean, the one I saw most recently, which immediately set off all of my alarm bells, was something that was saying every owner has to pay a €15,000 bond to us that we hold to prevent fraud and issues with bookings. Well, realistically, no apartment or villa owner is going to give €15,000 to a company in order for them to hold it in bond, and it would amount to millions across all of the properties. So again, just look at the terms and conditions and see if it sounds odd to you. Now, if you are slightly worried one of those alarm bells has triggered, what can you do? Well, I think the first thing I would do is have a look at the images for the property and download one or two of them, and then upload them to a website called TinEye or Reverse Image Checker. And using TinEye or Reverse Image Checker, you can upload an image to the web, and it will then show you everywhere else that image appears online. So, for example, you'll put your image up, and it will say this particular image also appears on Booking.com and Airbnb and Lanzarote Information and so on and so forth, because owners tend to get one set of images made and they send them to all the companies that they are advertising with. If the other results that come up for Booking.com and Airbnb use a completely different name, run a mile, because that's an obvious one. So if you're looking at what purports to be Villa Acropolis and across the rest of the web it's called Villa Casablanca, then it is almost certainly a scam. What next? Well, these are things now you can do to prevent being caught out. And the first thing I would say to you is that if you're suspicious or slightly nervous, and in fact I would do this in most cases, particularly if you're talking about a lot of money, ask to speak to the owner or property manager on the telephone. Now, normally when you book a property these days, it's kind of all done online. So you start off putting your details into a form, somebody replies to you via email, and you have this sort of backward and forward via email, and then you get to the point where you're about to book, and they're sending you a payment link or their bank details so you can transfer the money. At that point, I would say, can we just have a short conversation on the phone, please? Now, the reason I say that is that most scammers will run a mile rather than having a telephone conversation. It's very easy for them to remain faceless, behind email. It's very easy for them to pretend they know the property in detail behind email, because they can go away and research your questions. But when you're face to face with them on the phone, well, you're not face to face, you're ear to ear with them on the phone, it becomes very different, and you can often hear if they are being honest just by asking one or two simple questions like, can you tell me where the nearest shop is? What's the name of the road it's in? What sort of stuff do they stock there? Those are the kind of things that I would be asking on the phone, and your antennae should very quickly tell you whether this person really does know the property and they are talking about it in an authoritative way. The next thing I would advise doing where possible, and it isn't always possible, is to use safe and secure payment methods. Now, really, there are the two most secure ways of making a payment are via a credit card and via a verified PayPal account. And in either case, if you have an issue, you can recall the money. That doesn't apply so much to direct bank transfers and things like Western Union, where you're transferring cash effectively. The Western Union thing I would avoid completely. Bank transfers, a lot of the time, owners won't have, if you're dealing directly with a private owner, they won't have access to a merchant account, so they may not be able to take credit card payments from you. So the most common method of paying for these properties is via bank transfer, either in your home country or to their account here in Lanzarote or wherever you're booking a property. But ask for it. If you have the option to pay by credit card, I would advise you to do so, because that gives you the ultimate level of protection. Just a quick word on PayPal. Make sure you're paying to a verified PayPal account. and a scammer will ask you to tick the friends and family button, and they will make up a story saying, well, we're not charged so much money by PayPal if you're paying us as a friend or family. It's worth noting that if you do tick that friends and family button, you lose all of your rights to a recompense or recovering your money if there is an issue. So the answer to that is no, don't do it. Always do it to a verified pay account without the friends and family option on. And finally, on things you can do to mitigate being caught out. Be honest with the owner. Speak to them either via email or on the phone and just say, look, I'm a little bit nervous. I wonder if you can do anything to reassure me. As a legitimate owner, I would be more than happy to, for example, send you pictures of us at the property, or even to send you a scan of the deeds of the property or an electricity bill or something that proves I really am the person who owns that property. So be honest with them and tell them you're worried. Again, if it's a scammer, you won't hear from them again. If it isn't a scammer, they will try and do something to reassure you. And maybe the owner knows somebody on the island that you know, for example. All right, and the last thing we're going to cover now is what to do if you have been caught out. And the first thing is to contact the police in your home country. If you're certain that the scammer is based in the Canary Islands, it might be worth you calling the local police. But as I said at the top, 9 times out of 10, these people are located remotely in Eastern Europe or whatever. But the important thing is that you report the matter to the police so you can actually start the process, hopefully, of getting your money back. Hope you've enjoyed that. I hope it's been useful for you. As I've said before, we post these sort of informational type videos and story type videos every Tuesday, and every Saturday we do the weekly news from Lanzarote. So do subscribe to our channel, do give this a like if you've liked it, and we'll be back again with more videos for you in the next couple of days. Thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.